Hello, Ermiya. How are you?
Hello. How are you today?
I'm doing
fine,
really
thank
well.
you.
Good. I'm doing really well. So it's a little bit cold here in Melbourne, Australia. I'm so glad I'm having you again here on my show. So I forgot to ask you, how old are you?
15 years old.
15 years. Okay, you're amazing. All right. So tell me, what are you going to play today?
I play the Iran music in the رقص بهار in شهرداد روحانی.
Perfect. Whenever you're ready, please start. Christine!
We did it.
Hello, how are you doing?
Doing good.
Okay, perfect. So thank you very much for being here on my show. I really appreciate it. We eventually made it after a few months. Yeah. And you're the first makeup movie artist actually I've got here on my show, and I'm so happy for that. So before I'm going to start my questions, I've gotten lots of questions here for you. So before I'm going to start my questions, would you like to say hi to those who are watching us now and later?
Hey, everyone. No, I'll say hi now.
Hi. All right. When I've said that I'm going to have a conversation with you, actually, people shoot their questions, and I've got my own questions first, and then if we get a chance, I'll go through their questions also.
Absolutely.
So, my first question is, as a filmmaker, I've worked with a lot of movie makeup artists over the past 20 years, and I think one of the most important elements of any films is the makeup. So, for me, makeup artist work is like a painting on a canvas, which they do it with great, and the sensitivity they do for in their work is very important. What is your interpretation as someone who's been working in the field of makeup for many years and has been participated in many outstanding films?
Well, thank you. I look at it similarly, right? I mean, the subject or the canvas is the actor most of the time. Some of the times it's a false piece of rubber or something, that we're using. But I think what's important for me is to always understand that it's not just a canvas that we have to paint every day. So even though it might be the same canvas, you're sort of having to, sort of reinvent the look every day from scratch. So you kind of get to repaint the same thing over and over and over usually on a film because you're going for 30, 40 days in a row or something. So in some respects I get a little numb, for lack of better words maybe, to the subject and get more involved with what I'm trying to do is tell a story, help tell a story. And we do that in a number of visual ways, and it could be something as simple as darkening under someone's eye to make them look tired. But of course, it's conveying emotion, it's conveying story, it's conveying backstory, and you're trying to do a lot of that with a little shade of blue or something, right? So, in a lot of respects, I agree 100% with what you're saying. It's important as far as the painterly canvas and sort of the artistic, objective perspective of it. But then there's also this underlining, I'm telling a story. And I'm telling a sub-story to what the director is trying to tell and to what the DP is trying to, show visually with lighting. So everybody has their own canvas in the world of film. And this is mine. It's paint and colors, very similar to a canvas.
Absolutely. And you know what? I've been so privileged that I've spoken with super famous, non-famous, really unique people, on my show all around the world. And it is a really common question that I would ask my guests. I believe that what happens in our childhood, like the environment we grow up in, will play a big role actually in our future career choices.
Sure.
And I'd like to take you back 2 years ago. I want to know
a lot of years.
Because you've been working as a makeup artist, and when I was reading the list of the movies that you've been participating, it's huge. So I want to know what happened, at the early age or when you were growing up, that you made up your mind and you said, well, I'm going to become a movie makeup artist in the future, which is today. Tell me, what happened?
Oh, well, that it's a big story, but I'll try to condense it.
Tell me.
If you have more questions. Well, I'm 46 now. So about 40 years ago, when I was about 6, 7 years old, I fell in love with film. And I fell in love with film having a lot to do with my relationship with my father, who loved to watch movies sort of as an escapism. And we never grew up in the film industry. I don't have family in the film industry. I do now. Some of my brothers have traveled to California and started careers as well. But at the time, we grew up in Washington State, which is Seattle, most people know it as Seattle, right? And a little farm community. And I think it was just my father's way to escape. He just liked film. He liked movies. He liked watching them. It was a way, I think, to, like I said, escape his life and just sort of submerge himself for a couple hours. And he shared this experience with me. He would watch a movie, and then he would tell me about it the next day. And, you know, it might come on again. This is when HBO was just starting to form, and, you know, cable networks were starting to happen, but there were still only, you know, 12 stations on the TV. And he would say, hey, that film I was telling you about is on. You should watch it. And he would wake me up, you know, at 8 or 9 or 10 o'clock at night and make some popcorn, and we would watch movies. So a lot of my love, I think, for film at a very early age came out of this sort of way to connect with my father and share time together. But then as a young kid, of course, you grow fascinated with sort of the fantasy that film brought. Movies like Star Wars, right? And I don't want to name some of the movies that my father made me watch. People would be horrified. But there was movies like Altered States, The Thing. Of course, Raiders of the Lost Ark eventually came. And it was these types of movies that made me fall in love with film. And at first, I fell in love with film because I didn't understand how films were made. Of course. There was an idea that, you know, people got together and you had some people in front of a camera and you shot them. But in my little 7-year-old mind, it was a group of friends who just made movies, and they did everything, not realizing that there were directors and prop people and costumers and all these different, you know, forms of career-based artistic sort of environments. And what I found myself doing was gravitating towards making films with my friends on a little Super 8 camera. But every film that we did had some sort of makeup effect. It was, you know, somebody's finger gets cut off, or, you know, somebody gets, you know, stabbed, or, you know, always something, right? And it was always violent because you're kids. You know, American Werewolf in London came out. So there was a phase there where it was like, okay, someone's got to turn into a werewolf. And so after I started doing more research into how films were made, and I found myself gravitating towards those books and those magazines that had to do with makeup. And that's when I sort of discovered that, oh, this is a job in itself. This is what somebody does. This is all they do. And the more I learned about it, the more I learned that it dealt with sculpture and painting and design and drawing and all sort of aspects to build something from conception to finished product. And so I kind of fell in love with the sort of the general arts, and I started practicing sculpture, and I started practicing painting, and I started trying to simulate with rubber fleshes and things like that. And it eventually just kept moving towards what at the time probably wasn't such a goal or a career-based sort of direction, but I just kept moving in that direction. And so it probably was around, I don't know, 13 years old, maybe, somewhere around there, where I discovered, like, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to be a makeup person. I'm going to create makeup effects, or I'm going to do makeup, or whatever it might be. But I'm going to go to Hollywood, and this is what I'm going to do. And from that point on, it became just very clear. Everything I did was driven by that motivation. Everything. From school to trying to finish my schoolwork fast enough that I can go get jobs to earn money, to go buy materials, to then do this. So it was kind of nice, because most people don't have that in their life, right? Most people don't discover who they are or what they want to do until usually even after college.
Absolutely.
And here I was 13 with this focus, and I was able to continue that throughout my teenage years into my early 20s. And I think that had a lot to do with why I was able to start at such a young age and sort of progress into the industry maybe younger, having not known anybody in the industry, because it was just always where I was going to end up. That's
very interesting. And most successful artists, I think, been through the same path as yours, and just keep doing. But that's very interesting, and that part of your life is very similar, as I've said, to many other artists that have been really successful. And many people, and another question that I've got from people, so we know, but many people do not know what's the main difference between the movie makeup artist and the movie makeup designer. Like, who designed the characters, and the makeup artist literally start putting the makeup on that actor or actress face.
Well, it works differently. In different parts of the world, it works differently. And even within, the community of Los Angeles, it works differently. Like, for example, in Europe, you have a makeup designer, like you said. You have somebody who's going to design the character, both hair, makeup, and then they bring on a team and they sort of pull the strings and orchestrate how the makeup artists are going to perform every day, how they're going to do it. In Los Angeles, and I shouldn't even just say Los Angeles, in the United States,
yeah,
but specifically West Coast, because even New York does it a little bit differently, but it works very similar. We have a hair team and a makeup team, and they collaborate with a production, but the hair department or the hair designer designs the hair and the makeup designer designs the makeup. However, when we design it, we also are the ones that are usually executing it. So in most of the jobs that I take, the types of jobs that I get offered, the types of jobs that I want to do. And I've been in a fortunate enough position in the last several years to sort of make the case for myself, because I have experience now. I have, a couple decades behind me. I usually like to take the position of, you're hiring me to design your show, your makeup. And this is both character, beauty, effects, any of it. And part of the reason why I like to do that is because it's challenging to me. And the other reason I like to do that is because there's a cohesiveness. I understand the story from start to finish. The director and the producers believe that I understand the story enough to give me the job. And there's going to be a continuity that exists now between it all. So I think it's important to be the designer and the person who can execute the job. Even though I have a team that works with me, and there's because there's a lot of people that need to get ready every day. Absolutely. You need to have a clear vision, I think. And that's what hopefully holds the audience captive while they're watching the show. Doesn't break the fantasy. And again, I always come back to, I want to tell a story with what we do. I don't want to take away from the story that's been written on paper that the actors are doing in their performance, but I want to tell a story. We usually are brought in to tell a backstory. We're sort of the unspoken word. It's, you put a tattoo on somebody, and the type of tattoo that is designed and created and the placement will immediately tell you a lot about that character, and you don't have to say a word. And so it's always really important, these nuances. And I think if you have multiple designers or a designer that is just delegating, you can really see where it breaks and where it doesn't fit. And so I don't know if I answered your question, but
yes, you did. You did.
Yeah.
I was just gonna throw my questions away and just keep listening to you. talking. It's very, very interesting. That's very interesting what you're saying, because the list of the films in which you've worked as a makeup artist is very different to each other, and this is a great opportunity for any artist, to show his or her abilities in different films. In many parts of the world, one of the biggest problems actually in the film industry is that the most of the time when you or the artist is appears in the good role in the film, doesn't matter, he's a makeup artist, cameraman, cinematographer, the rest of the offers that are then given to him or her are very similar. And but how come it was not like that for you? Because when
there's a lot of diversity on that resume. Yeah, I think partly because, well, this is a whole nother conversation to a question that may or may not be asked here. There's different types of makeup artists. And there's nothing wrong with any type of makeup artist. There's just paths that people take. Yeah. Even within our same field, meaning colleagues of mine, there are things that they're passionate about and things that they want to do, things that they don't want to do. And I've always sort of found that if it's something I don't know well or something that I don't do well, I want to work at that. That's what I want to do more of then. And it's not that I've become an expert at any one thing. It's just that I find challenges in the things that I haven't explored. And there's a lot of makeup artists who don't do that. And again, nothing wrong with it. Some makeup artists just want to do beauty makeups. That's all they want to do. They just want to do a beautiful actress, make them look beautiful, maybe in period piece only. Maybe they want to do contemporary, and that's all. And that's okay. And so I've always sort of challenged myself to find those projects and to connect myself with people that are doing different projects that to me sound interesting as well as become challenging. And so from very early on, having more of a background in makeup effects, so prosthetics, building fake bodies, things like that, things that you're going to see in my studio tonight. Mm-hmm. Those are elements that I was very comfortable with because that's what I knew. And for a lot of people, that's scary. And for most people that do what I do, that's all that they do. They don't do beauty makeup. They don't run departments. They don't design shows. They are hired specifically to make somebody look like a monster. And that's it. That's what they do. And so I sort of branched out and connected myself with people to do more beauty makeup, to start to run my own shows, and to really diversify. I mean, this is what it all comes down to. I like to diversify. And so because of that, I was, taken down paths of creating tattoos for films, which led into a whole separate kind of career in itself. So I get called a lot. My company gets called a lot to create tattoos for films all over. So, there's things on that resume that are specifically geared towards just the tattoo work. And then there's other jobs and people that hire me to come in and just do beauty makeup. And I tend to get hired a lot to do period films and Westerns, 1930s, 1940s, and Westerns. I don't know why, but it's what's happened. And I've been very fortunate to connect with different directors who make very unique films. And I haven't really been thrown into that big blockbuster Marvel movie setting. That's just, I haven't done that. And I don't think I want to do that. It's not really on my list. I don't see it as being challenging for myself. It would be, absolutely. That takes a lot of energy. And there's a lot of moving parts to that, but it doesn't interest me. So I found my path going down you know, these different directions of prosthetics, beauty, tattoos, and the people that I've grouped with just happen to make the projects that I work on there, which you're going to show some later.
Yeah. You've been participated of stunning films, and that's why I thought it's like you're just excellent choice actually for me for the first time that I'm going to have a conversation with a makeup artist, movie makeup artist here, because you experience, you know, being participated in different type of genres actually in the film industry. Now let's do something. I want to ask you a favor, and I want you to take us with you to your studio and give us a tour, please, and show us. As you can see, there should be like, can you see the arrows? So
I
you
can see the arrows.
Grab it and please take us with you and show us around.
All right. So is that all right? There we are. See, I'm in the mirror.
There you go.
So this is hey. Wow, we're already at that time, huh? So this is my makeup room. So we have here. I'll try to step back so everybody can see. I'll step into the doorway. So we have 3 stations here in the studio. You know, this is where we bring actors to do test makeups. We do life casts in here. So you'll see a lot of these faces up here are different actors. You got David Carradine, Cameron Diaz, Halle Berry, Evan Rachel Wood. There's Tom Waits, which is one of my favorites because we're the only person in the world who has a life cast of Tom Waits. Ben Kingsley. Here's another great one. That's Dolly Parton.
What?
Again, the only company in the world that did a life cast of Dolly Parton. Frances McDormand. Anyways, I could go on and on, but a lot of great
I love actors.
It. These are just some of the people. Here's against the back wall. So what happens is when actors come in and they get a life cast, they're facing the mirror. And then while they're facing the mirror, they get a look behind them. And we do a little guessing game. There's The Rock right there. Kathy Bates, Matt Damon. These 2 are Brad Pitt. There's a younger one and an older one there, about 10 years
For what
apart.
film? What film that one?
So we have Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford. And then the other one was for, I'm trying to think of what we did that one for. We've done a few films with Brad. I can't think of it off the top of my head. I'll be honest with you.
That's right.
We got some more up here. Anyway, so those are live casts, and we, like I said, we do a little bit of guessing game when the actors are sitting here. They try to guess who the actors are. Now we're going to walk out into the main studio floor. So I'll kind of give you a broad scope.
Oh wow!
Of the workplace. Over here, those are offices and conference room and different things. It's going to be kind of, you know, remember it's really late here, so everybody's gone. Through that door, those are design rooms. So that's where we do all our creature design and where we draw all our tattoos and everything. Very boring to look at unless you want to see cameras. This is, I don't know if you guys know that TV show Blind Spot, where the woman's fully tattooed. I think you have some pictures of it. Yeah. Anyways, this is I'm not going to show because she's naked, but this is like a fake body of her, and we're building a display piece of her, and she's going to be covered in all the tattoos, and so very boring to look at. In that, this is a more fun piece. So this is a giant. I don't know what you call it. It's an alien dog. This was from not the Chronicles of Riddick. It was from the 3rd movie called Riddick, I think is what it was called, with Vin Diesel. But this is like a giant puppet, and it has all these cables in the back here. Comes out its backside, and the whole thing moves around. And it was for when Vin was standing next to him. He stands about chest high here, and he's just supposed to look like he's petting his dog, and that's what we built it for, is just to sit next to Vin. That alien under the bag is also this alien here. So this is from American Horror Story, the 2nd season. So this is actually quite old now, really. This is about 8 years old, but you can see the foam is starting to tear away. But this is a fully mechanical, you know, everything moves and opens up, and, you know, the arms. But anyways, this stands about 10 feet tall. So it's hard to get perspective here, but there's that.
Amazing.
Let's see, what else do we got here? This is a fun sculpture. There was a movie called Death Note, and we were on the early design stages of that show before it went to Canada. And this was one of the early concept. So this is still a sculpture. You can see the sculpture is starting to crack a little bit here. And even though this is an oil-based clay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even though it's an oil-based clay and it doesn't technically dry, after years and years, it eventually starts to get a little bit firmer and it can crack. So we're going to end up preserving this at some point. But you can see it's got a nice little carving in it. Death Note. Let's see. Oh, this is a head that's been blown out the back. Let me see if I can move it. Okay, I see the front of the guy. This was for a movie called Kogan's Trade, which was a Brad Pitt film, where a man gets shot in the back of the head, and the director wanted the head to open up like a flower, and he wanted it to be white with no blood. Wow. And so that's why it looks like that. There's a show out right now called The Right Stuff that came out with National Geographic, Disney. You know,
sorry, you are cutting off. You're cutting off your internet. Can you go to can you use your data instead of Wi-Fi? Probably it works better.
I'm actually on data.
Oh.
Is this better? Am I better right now?
Yes, it's getting.
Okay. So this was a show called The Right Stuff that's on Disney. And the actor couldn't, see, this is one of the things we do. The actor couldn't cut his hair because he was on another show. And so they asked us to build a bald cap. We fully punched the whole thing with hair and then cut it to look like what his hair was going to look like when he could cut his hair. I know that seems a kind of backwards, but so for the first episode, he's wearing a complete bald cap with hair that's punched in. I'm going to get in closer so you can see. So every one of those hairs are punched in individually, and we end up covering the whole top of the head with it. And so that way we can shave it and cut it to look like a real head of hair.
The internet's quality, it's not good enough to
get close on that. Yeah.
Yeah, in that room, the internet, it's dropped off.
It dropped off a little.
It slowly.
Okay. I'll do my best here. It is moving. It's pretty good. Let's see. This is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. We were going to do the film from a few years ago, and we were going to do it all practical. And then they decided to do the whole thing digitally. So that's another aspect of the film industry. You know, they start to do everything digitally, and then we don't build anything. But this was one of the concepts for one of the turtles in sculpture form. Let's see, up here, we have some different heads. There's Jonah Hex. There's Josh Brolin as Jonah Hex. So, you know, that a lot of these pieces are pieces that are still being made into displays. So we're doing different things with it. I'll come across over here. Got some bodies laying. Here's a body. There you go. Just nice body hanging out.
Who is it?
This is just a generic body that we build for different scenes, morgue scenes. They just need dead people laying around, but they don't want to hire actors because actors cost money and have to go to the bathroom and everything else, right? So you just lay one of these guys in there and they can just lay there all day. They're kind of to show you they, you know, and they got, you know, it's hair punched into the legs and.
Wow. It looks like exactly a dead body. Wow.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. Let's see. Got a few items up here. I'll kind of just go down the row here. Some of it. There's Vin, yeah. This is a fake head from the movie Flags of Our Fathers, which was a Clint Eastwood film. That's actually his son.
Is his real son?
That's his real son in real life. Not, you know, this is the fake head of him. But yeah, he was in the film and got his head blown off. There's Frances McDormand. She's wearing a neck prosthetic right now that looks, see this tube that comes into it goes up to where that bite mark is. And sometimes we'll use heads like this just to test it out and show productions. And so this was where somebody bit a chunk of neck out and then blood has to squirt. So you would connect a tube to this or like a syringe or a pump and it would shoot blood out that area right there.
Wow.
Yep. Let's see, that's from Santa Clarita Diet, the 3rd season. Just a prop head of an actor that we did a makeup on for this, that they shot against green screen. I think you have a photo of that you'll be showing.
Yeah.
Jason Statham. That's kind of a caricature mask. This we did for Crank 2, which was a crazy little film and a lot of fun. Those directors are nuts, but they're fantastic. This is from a movie, Gangster Squad, another Josh Brolin film. There's a guy who gets tied in between 2 cars, and the 2 cars drive away in opposite directions and rip them apart. And so this was the head that was attached to the body. So that's what it looks like when it's not attached to the body.
Wow.
Let's see. That's from American Horror Story. That's one of the pig masks. And then there's a sculpture of a penis right behind it that I'll try to go around. There we go.
We saw it.
You saw it, maybe a little bit. And then few different heads here. Some fun stuff. Jimmy Kimmel. There you go. I'll bring you into the other room here. So this is kind of the main floor where we do a lot of just the sculpture and the mold making. Give you a little bit of a scope.
That's amazing. Do you have albums or something that you can, if you finished? Oh, what are these? Is it like a posters of?
So these are posters. So this is coming down the hall into the front part of the building. Triple X, Ocean's 11, My Sister's Keeper.
I love that movie. Is it the Cameron Diaz?
That one? Yeah, that one's fantastic. That was another great sort of artsy, fun project. True Grit, Passion of the Christ. No Country for Old Men. Let's see, we have some dogs down here. This is a wolf. And the ears coming off here, but so these were puppets that were made for a film where this dog had to get into a fight with this wolf. And so these are all, they just move around, but they're like hand puppets. So your hand goes up the back side into about here, and then, you control it and move it around. Let's see. This is from American Horror Story. This was the 1st season. Girl caught in there. Let's see. Santa Clarita Diet. This guy was in a freezer, and she would come and eat bits and pieces of him. So there's like sections of his skin missing there, and where she bit him in the neck, and there's his arm. Big section bitten out of there. Am I going too fast, or it's okay?
I love it. No, you're amazing. Just keep doing it. We're enjoying. Please.
So this is Brad Pitt. This is from the movie Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford. It's a long title. So this is a fake body that we made of Brad on this slab. And the reason why we did is he had to lay on a slab like this for 2 days while groups of people would come into the room and pay respects. And so I told production, I was like, you don't want Brad Pitt laying on a slab, trying to hold his breath, having to get up, go to the bathroom, get his makeup done to look at. I was like, why don't we just make a fake body of him? It'll just be so much easier. And they did. So I'm going to get close. So they got, I know it's the connection is going to be a little fuzzy, but like
it's good.
All his beard hair and everything. So each one of these hairs are punched in one at a time and groomed to look like Brad. So
looks like a Brad Pitt.
It does look like Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
We got some fun stuff down here. We got like a bull's head mask. Again, I think that's American Horror Story as well. There's a demon face.
Wow.
I think that was from Jonah Hex, maybe. And then we did this thing for Westworld. There's a scene in Anthony Hopkins' office where he has like a study of Evan Rachel Wood's character from that. And it actually starts from this end. So let me start here. So it goes from skull, which is very forensic, right? It has the little slabs that tell you how thick the tissue is around the skull. And then it moves into a sculpture of the skull starting to form. Mm-hmm. And then it goes into a more evolved sculpture with more of the muscle tissue. Wow. And then eventually into her. So there's this sort of evolution between those four things. And these were pieces that we just had in Anthony Hopkins' office. Everyone might remember Pretty Girl from the first American Horror Story.
Hey.
Then we have Pepper. Right? Most people know Pepper. There she is. Just some masks up here that we created for some party goers. These are kind of cool masks, but these are, what's neat about these, I'm going to get better lighting here, is these are plastic. They're supposed to look like wood.
It does.
Painted, but they're actually just made out of plastic. So that's kind of fun. These are fun. I like those. How much else? So here's another American Horror Story. There you go. Got a few of those down here. Well, if you have a minute, I'll walk upstairs real quick.
Please, please, please. We're enjoying. Please do whatever you want.
I'll wrap around. So this is sort of we're above where we just were. There's the shop space down there and the body. We're going to go into a dark room here real quick. I'll turn on the lights. So up here we have a fake head from Santa Clarita Diet, first season. Corbin Bernsen.
Oh, yes.
Fake head of him. That was from American Gods. This is one of the robots from Westworld. So you can... Mm-hmm. So it's just a full standing body. And again, we made these bodies because there was a lot of times where there were just supposed to be people standing there who were lifeless because they're robots. Mechanical bull's head. This is from Jonah Hex. This is one of the creatures that he fights in it. I'm going to walk down here. This is the general conference room. So this is where we sit. We have the TV at the end so we can watch movies during the day. And that's where we conduct business. Not usually. We just talk a lot. This is from Westworld. So I think it was the third episode where this guy gets his head crushed by a boulder. In fact, he crushes his own head. And this was the actual piece that we made to crush. So the whole thing can sink in. So if you hit it, it'll actually flatten and stay. And then we built a big body of him.
Wow.
Right there. And this is his head smashed in. There you go. This is from American Gods. Pardon the shadow here. But kind of a cool piece. Inside, it's kind of pretty. It's got a little honeycomb beehive for a lung. And they just had this weird moment where the camera sort of zooms in and flowers are growing, which they did digitally. And we just kind of built this base for visual effects to enhance.
Oh my God. Wow.
Stuff here. And this is kind of just this is a nice puppet, and, you know, kind of moves around. And then another famous American horror story. Here's Bloody Face.
I watched this film.
You did, yeah? There you go. So that's
horror
the actual mask. That's the one used in the show. But yeah.
Oh my God.
Maybe I'll go as that for Halloween. I don't know.
No.
But that's about it. That's my messy office. There's a lot of my book collection. You can't really see it. It's dark. Let me not bore you with that right now. But that's, you know, that's kind of the tour. You know, we don't do a lot of.
It's amazing.
I mean, I know there's some fun stuff that we just looked at, but I really don't have a lot of displays like a lot of companies do. I'm going to reverse this.
You have enough. You have enough. So it's the biggest makeup artist studio that I've ever seen in my life.
Oh,
the majority.
It's a good size. We're definitely not the biggest, but we're a good size.
Absolutely. And you're located in Los Angeles. Am I right?
Yes.
Wow. Wow. So where do you think the film makeup industry is heading to? After the digital things came to the reality, you know, you've been working, you were showing that some of those sculptures that you were working on it for hours or days maybe. And then, you know, they said, no, we're deciding to not using them. So this can be a little bit quite disappointing, because you think like a traditional makeup industry slowly like changing. So tell me what.
Yeah. It is changing. I understand why it's evolving. And it's not eliminating makeup. That's the good thing. People, back when Jurassic Park came out, everybody thought like, well, that's it. Makeup effects are over. It's all done. And they were wrong. In fact, they were very wrong. And we were all wrong, because we all kind of thought it. We were all kind of sitting there going, oh, I don't know if we're going to have a job in 10 years. But, you know, there's a lot of traditions, and I won't make this a long answer, but there are things that visual effects do very well. And there are a lot of stories that have been able to be told because of that technology that we would have never been able to do practically. And so it's a tool to be used, and when used well, it's beautiful. We marry a lot of what we do with visual effects now. It's made both our jobs easier. So a lot of times we would have to plan shots very specifically. Editorially, they would have to cut it very specifically to show the audience something that you wanted them to see. And it was always trickery and moving around. And nowadays we can, as makeup artists, create a foundation that visual effects can then enhance and move forward and make it even better. And so a lot of it is knowing where you should marry and how you should marry the two technologies to create magic. And people have done it very successfully, and we continue to try to make it very successful. And there are other times and places where it's like, no, that should be practical, 100%. And there's a good argument for it. So there's plenty of room for both people to live, both visual effects artists and practical. Yeah.
It's lovely to combine both together, you know, and you can come up with the quite creativity.
Yeah.
Christine! It was amazing conversation with you. I really, really appreciate that. Thank you. I know you are working on a project right now. Yeah. And it's called like in LA. And I really, what can you say? What are you allowed to say that? What kind of project? What's the project you're working on right now?
Well, I'm currently this week I'm doing something that's not too glamorous. For me, it's fun. I'm doing a Christmas commercial.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
But it's fun. I'm doing a bunch of elves. We created a bunch of ears and different makeups for these elves, and it's a lot of fun. So I like doing commercials. Commercials are really fun because they give you very little time, but usually lots of money, and they're very creative. They have a lot of fun. Commercials have a lot of money to be creative, and it's for 30 seconds, so they want to be as creative as they can. So I love doing commercials. I don't do a lot of them, so when I do get a chance, I'm all in. But we have about 3 or 4 other projects that we're currently working on too. Another really cool big project coming up with Brad Pitt, and we got a couple shows that we continue to do that are in their 2nd and 3rd seasons now. So yeah, things are going well, and you know we're keep moving forward. But yeah,
that's it. That in such a crazy situation that we are all struggling with on this beautiful planet due to COVID-19, I love when I see people like you're proactive and still creative, and that's amazing. I love my conversation with you, and I hope you like it also.
Oh, I loved it. This was great. It was very fun, and I felt very at ease. You make people feel very comfortable. Thank you.
Anytime. Thank you very much, and I hope to meet you one day in reality.
I hope so.
We will. My best friends are living in Los Angeles. I used to live in LA, and I used to live in Seattle, and I loved Seattle.
No, really, yeah, fantastic. Well, see, we've almost crossed paths.
There you go. I'll let you go. I know you have to get up early in the morning, and thank you very much again for your time. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Thank you.
All right, I'll catch you later. Take care.
All right, take you. Do you do the other thing later?
Yes.
All right.
Yes, I will. All right, bye.
All right, bye.